This is the story of a lazy village elder who despised hard work until he needed help. He learned that life doesn't owe you anything. Once upon a time, in a cozy village nestled between rolling hills, there lived a respected elder named Thomas. He enjoyed a reputation for being wise and just, but his laziness was legendary. Ever since he was young, he hated working hard and spent his days sitting on the porch of his house, sipping tea, commenting on everything that happened in the village. He loved to boss others around and issue orders because he didn't like doing anything himself. One day, a stranger arrived in the village. He was a skilled carpenter who traveled from town to town building beautiful furniture. Hearing of his talent, Thomas summoned the carpenter to his home and ordered him to build a special chair for him. "I want it to be the most comfortable chair in the world," he told the carpenter, "and I want you to finish it by tomorrow morning." The carpenter, recognizing Thomas's influential status, agreed to the job. But instead of beginning work right away, he decided to wait a bit. He knew Thomas was notoriously grumpy and prone to changing his mind. So the carpenter sat down on the porch next to Thomas and asked, "Could you please tell me exactly what you imagine for this special chair? I want to get every detail right." Thomas, eager to show off his sophisticated taste, rattled off a long list of fancy designs and luxurious materials. The carpenter listened patiently, taking notes. But when the list ended, he raised an eyebrow and said, "Sir, are you sure you want all these fancy features? Some of them seem unnecessary." "Of course I do," Thomas snapped. "Don't question my taste. Just do as I say and finish it by tomorrow or else." The carpenter shrugged and retreated to his workshop. After a moment of contemplation, he decided to make a bet with Thomas. "If you bring me the materials tomorrow morning as promised," he said, "I will make you the world's most comfortable chair exactly as you described. But if you can't have all the materials ready by then, I will make you a simple but very sturdy wooden stool." Thomas thought for a moment. He wanted that fancy chair more than anything, but he was pretty sure he could have all the materials to the carpenter by the next morning. "All right," he agreed. "You win." The next day arrived. The carpenter waited patiently, but Thomas showed up empty-handed. "Where are the materials?" he asked. "I brought them," Thomas replied, gesturing to a pile of scrap wood in a corner. "Can you make a stool out of this?" The carpenter inspected the pile. "Sir, this isn't nearly enough for a stool, let alone the chair you ordered. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you." Thomas panicked. He realized he hadn't gathered the materials the previous evening, but he couldn't admit it. "Don't be ridiculous," he snapped. "I'm sure I have everything we need around here somewhere. Go look harder." The carpenter searched for more materials, but it was no use. They were missing essential components. "I'm sorry, sir," he said, "but we're missing too much. I can't make either the chair or the stool." Furious, Thomas paced his porch. "How dare you come empty-handed? I demanded a chair, and that's what you'll make me, whether you find the materials or not." The carpenter shook his head. "With what? There's nothing here to work with." Thomas exploded in rage, but it quickly evaporated into frustration. He stomped off to sit alone in his house. All day he grumbled about his bad luck, but as night fell and the carpenter finished packing up his tools, he realized the truth. He had been outsmarted. That lazy old fool had tricked him into wasting an entire day of work. To top it off, he still had to leave without finishing his job. Biting his lip, he got to work. He managed to complete a rudimentary stool by nightfall and brought it to Thomas's house. Knocking on the door, he called out, "Here is your stool, sir, as we agreed." He waited for a response, but none came. No doubt Thomas was asleep by now, the carpenter figured, disappointed but resigned. He turned to leave when suddenly the door swung open. Thomas stood groggily in the doorway. "What's this?" he mumbled. "It's the stool you ordered," the carpenter replied politely. "But you said you'd make me a chair." Thomas protested. "I did offer, but you didn't have all the materials ready by morning," the carpenter reminded him. "So I've brought you a stool instead." "Just as we agreed," Sir Thomas hesitated, realizing he had been bested. Grumbling under his breath, he sat down heavily in the rough-hewn stool. "Humph," he snorted. "It's not as fancy as I wanted, but it seems to be sturdy enough." The carpenter bowed slightly. "Thank you, sir. I try to make all my furniture both functional and beautiful." Thomas grunted not. Suddenly, his face lit up with an idea. "Say, you're quite the carpenter, aren't you? How would you feel about making me an even more special chair?" He paused for effect. A chair fit for the village elder. The carpenter recognized a trap when he heard one. "Are you trying to trick me again, sir?" he asked cautiously. "No tricks this time," Thomas assured him with a wink. "You can finish it over several days, and I'll provide the materials." "Fair enough," the carpenter agreed. Over the next week, The carpenter returned to Thomas's house every morning to gather supplies. Each day, Thomas would give him enough materials for a single hour of work, then watch him closely as he crafted. The carpenter followed Thomas's instructions precisely, but after an hour of work each day, he packed up his tools and headed home. "Why do you stop so early?" Thomas asked one day. "You're not worried about finishing quickly, are you?" "I'm following your orders, sir," the carpenter replied calmly. "You only give me enough materials for an hour's work each day." "I'm trying to make the chair last." Thomas scoffed, but he couldn't deny the logic. For the next few weeks, the carpenter continued arriving at the appointed hour, gathering materials and working diligently, until Thomas sent him home. Soon, the chair took shape, and each morning Thomas excitedly checked its progress. Finally, after a month of painstaking work, the chair was finished. It was a masterpiece, just as Thomas had envisioned. Gleaming wood, intricate carvings, plush upholstery, everything was perfect. Pleased with the result, Thomas paid the carpenter generously and invited him to sit in the chair. "Tell me, does it feel like the most comfortable chair in the world?" he asked proudly. The carpenter relaxed into the luxurious seat. "It certainly is the most comfortable chair I've ever sat in, sir." He paused for a moment, savoring the feeling. Then he added thoughtfully, "But what I really admire is its sturdiness. You can make a chair like this in a month, but only a master carpenter can make a stool in a day with half a sack of scraps." Thomas's eyes widened in understanding. He finally realized how he had been outsmarted. The carpenter had made him work twice as hard for half the result. Not only that, but he had exposed Thomas's chronic laziness for the whole village to see. Flushing red with shame, Thomas wished he could disappear, but the carpenter merely smiled kindly and said, "Everyone has their strengths, sir. Some are good at planning, others at building. Let us use our talents to help each other and the world will prosper." Thomas nodded slowly. He understood the truth in the carpenter's words. The world doesn't owe you anything, and you must work hard to earn whatever you get. Most importantly, sometimes your greatest weaknesses can be turned against you in unexpected ways. The moral: be careful of tricksy elders. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. When elders play games they don't understand, they often end up teaching themselves valuable lessons the hard way.